In case of home broadband, India has about 40 million customers, which are serviced either through FTTH or DSL technology, and now recently air fiber also has become meaningful. Now, where we have a satellite service provider as an additional service which comes in, and it may be meant for more the remote areas, not really something which I see as a mass product, because for the masses, the prices are very, very stretched. $300 plus equipment price or $30 plus of service price is very high by Indian standards. There is not really much which this service can have in terms of impact in the cities, while in rural areas, the main issue will be affordability. Even in rural India today, we have a very good connectivity which has come in through 5G, and that's reflecting in the kind of numbers which air fiber service of Jio has managed to deliver in the recent quarters.
Let's bring in the strategic partnerships with two of India's largest telecom operators, that's Jio and Airtel. What does the Starlink partnership mean for them?
Yeah, for them, it's able to offer, it will improve their ability to offer additional services to the customer. Their customers will have all kind of requirements. There will be customers who will have niche requirements in rural hinterland, and that's where satellite can come in. It's not like, say, the initial question was about competition. In terms of competition, it's not really competitor. It's more about a complementary service, wherein you already have a layer of 4G and 5G, and 5G already is fairly widely available, but there'll still be places in which even 5G may not be available. That's where satellite comes in. Also, it provides a level of redundancy, where you have an existing connection at the same time when it's a critical service. You want redundancy, and that's where satellite could come in.
Interesting. So do you see this relationship between the strategic partnership between Starlink, Airtel and Jio being mutually beneficial up to a point, Kunal, since you would imagine that at some point Airtel and Jio would want to strike off on their own and enhance and develop and expand distribution and manufacturing capability of SATCOM broadband technology themselves?
From a telco perspective, this is not something which they would want to really do on their own. They already have almost 1 billion customers on mobility, and home broadband, they have about 40-45 million customers. This market, if at all, will be fairly niche. So while it's a good product to have, it's not something which they would really want to invest in on their own. So satellite capacities which have been created primarily for the developed markets can also be extended into India without any large additional costs. But when it comes to own investments, these telcos will not really look to invest on their own in satellite capacities.
Let's bring in the costs associated with satellite broadband technology, since, as you quite rightly pointed out, Kunal, they are elevated now because these are niche services. But do you see them coming down in time, especially since the government policy is aimed at making internet accessible and affordable for those who live in the most remote areas of India? And won't that draw in new entrants, create greater pricing competition and leads to greater mass market adoption? Then what will it mean for the incumbents?
Let's look at the two markets separately. We can look at urban market and rural market. If I look at urban market today, fiber to the home is fairly widely available. Operators are charging hardly $10-15 to connect the customer, and service price monthly is about $7 to $8, about 500-600 rupees. Over there, satellite does not really have any meaningful role. And now when we come to the hinterland rural markets, the first option which is now available, which is also very widely available, is air fiber services. Both Jio as well as Airtel are providing it. In case of air fiber as well, equipment is almost given out free along with bundled service. If I compare that with what satellite would charge, that will be almost $300. So that's a very, very big difference when it comes to the upfront cost for the customer. And even on the service cost, pricing is similar, about 600 rupees in case of air fiber, while in case of satellite, it could be about 3,000 rupees. Even if this number comes down, like today, it's 5 times more expensive in case of service. Even if that number comes down, it's really going to be a question of affordability. Like those in Indian hinterland, for them, affording this kind of a service is going to be very, very difficult. So there will be some niche use cases, but it's not something which I see as a mainstream service, not only right now, but even in next couple of years.
Jio and Airtel have complained that Satcom spectrum is priced at unjustifiably low rates that benefit providers like Starlink. Does this offer Starlink an unfair advantage, or could the rules that govern Satcom spectrum change to make it more equitable in time?
I think from an operator perspective, they want a level playing field. They've paid anywhere between $20 to $30 billion for spectrum, and they would want to avoid any kind of new competition coming in, especially without paying for spectrum, which is a fair demand from their side. At the same time, whether it's something which is a big threat to them and whether it can take away some large revenue streams which they are currently having or they will potentially have, I don't really see that happening. So that's how I see it.
Understood. Kunal, does Starlink have the best solution to address the geographical and the geophysical challenges of connecting very remote, very tough terrain across such a huge country as India? Do they have the best solution? Because the incumbents are already targeted and developing solutions to better connect remote and rural areas, aren't they? So ultimately, do you feel that the two are on a collision course, or can there be? Is there enough scope in the market for new entrants to coexist harmoniously?
The space for satellite seems to be very small, and it will continue to shrink. Today, if you look at the kind of connectivity which India has on 4G, India is a very population-dense market. It's a place where you have more than 400,000 telecom towers which are connecting the country. And that's also improving. Along with that, 5G connectivity also is improving with every passing month. So there is very small area which is not connected right now. And to find customers there who have that kind of affordability to pay $350 and $40 per month, I think that's a very niche market we are talking about. What we could have is more like institutions, corporates, some of them, which might look for redundancies, but like really end customer market seems fairly small, especially when I compare that with mobility or home broadband market in India right now.
What do you think about the work that's being done by BSNL and Viasat and the work that they're doing on direct-to-device satellite services, Kunal? Could that ultimately in time challenge mobile data, even on smartphones?
Yeah. So BSNL has been working on BharatNet project, which is connecting Indian villages, and India has a lot of them. This was conceptualized at a time when you did not have omnipresent 5G networks. Today, 5G has become available everywhere. So it's become a little less relevant compared to what it used to be. A satellite also comes in and can fill in that space. But I would say that 5G has a better right to win as of now compared to satellite, even when it comes to addressing the rural demand.
But in the here and now, the competitive position of the TMT providers in India is relatively intact and is relatively ring-fenced from any competitive threat from Starlink and the build-out of Satcom, despite the advantages that Starlink clearly seems to have in terms of the way spectrum is priced.
Absolutely. That's our view, that like when we look at the market, it has to from a revenue lens. And when I look at the large revenue chunks which the industry makes, mobility, no impact, home broadband, if at all, very marginal impact and more like complementary instead of a substitute. Because if somebody already has a fixed broadband connection, which is either FTTH connection or air fiber connection, there is absolutely no reason for that person to move. This becomes more like areas which are not getting serviced right now, which is going to be very, very niche and shrinking proposition in India.